Hello, everyone, and welcome to More Than Mindfulness. My name is Nisha, and today I want to talk a little bit about the balance between self-accountability and self-compassion. There is a lot of joy that comes from expanding ourselves, learning new things, and developing our capacities. Part of our human development is learning to overcome our limitations and developing our gifts and our talents. It takes a lot of courage to push past what is comfortable for us and engage in the process of growing ourselves in any capacity. A book that I really enjoyed is called The Power of Full Engagement. And in that book, it states that the best moments of our lives usually occur when a person's mind or body is stretched to its limits in a voluntary effort to accomplish something difficult and worthwhile. The intensity of pleasure that we derive from a given activity tends to diminish over time. Much as we fear change, the deepest satisfaction comes from our willingness to do new challenges and engage in novel experience. There's something incredibly beautiful in observing courage in ourselves and others to push past what is comfortable in an attempt to develop and to grow. Personal growth is manifest externally when we work toward developing a talent or accomplishing a goal, and internally when we do the work inside of ourselves to align our minds and hearts with truth, to develop self-awareness, to heal trauma, and to learn to operate from our strength and not from our fear and weakness. My profession for the last 20 plus years has been running a performing arts studio. I have become mindful from observing my students that a balance between self-accountability and self-compassion is the key to growing and developing to our potential while also staying mentally healthy. I'm going to use dance today as an example of this principle, but it really can be applied to any subject of self-growth. I like to picture self-accountability as like a sort of dial, and self-compassion is the superpower that keeps the accountability dial in its optimal place. Being accountable requires self-honesty. We have to be honest about the amount of effort we are giving to accomplish any goal at any given moment. I have witnessed students who express a desire to achieve a high level of competency with dance, but their actions don't really match their desire. The amount of work they are putting in, their effort in class, their willingness to take feedback and correction, their willingness to be uncomfortable and work outside of class are not in alignment with what they think that they want. I often see these students become indulgent by developing a victim mentality, and often falling into patterns of blaming others for their lack of growth or making justifications and making excuses. There is a feeling of entitlement, like I'm owed something without really putting forth the effort. Without taking accountability and an honest self-inventory, their growth is more limited. The dial of accountability has been turned down too low. However, if the dial of self-accountability gets too high, students become perfectionists. This mindset often gets results in their growth as a dancer, but leaves the student in an unhealthy and unhappy mental state. Perfectionists get hyper-focused on achieving outcomes, worry it will never be good enough, don't allow themselves to just be a human, and often overwork themselves physically and mentally. The perfectionist mentality sucks the joy from our activities, and their striving for excellence becomes stressful and anxiety-inducing. The key is to bring in the power of self-compassion. I use the word power intentionally because self-compassion is truly a gift that we all need. It actually helps to accelerate our growth and allows us to stay mentally healthy. I have observed in myself and my students that what often drives a student's inability to see themselves honestly and hold themselves accountable is shame. I can not see any of my flaws or weaknesses. I cannot see what I am not yet. It is too shameful. Their indulgence in making excuses and justifications and blaming others have become protectors because of the pain of seeing themselves honestly is too great. I remember being 9 or 10 and being in a dance rehearsal where there was a piece of choreography that there was a complex floor movement, and I just couldn't get it that first day, and it was really humiliating to me. So rather than just accept that I was not yet capable of doing the movement, successfully, I pretended that I had a wrist injury. And I made the excuse and really convinced myself that it was true, so that I didn't have to experience the dysregulation of admitting I was not yet capable of doing something. So how would self-compassion be a superpower in this scenario? I could have offered myself understanding and talked to myself in this way. You're learning something new. It's okay that you don't have the strength and the ability to do it yet, even though some other people in the class seem to have gotten it the first time. You don't need to feel shame or embarrassment. It's normal to have to work on something when you're learning it for the first time. Maybe ask your teacher for help and suggestions. Practice it every day, 5 times at home, so that you can develop the strength and coordination that you need to be able to do it successfully. My best efforts are always good enough. I am still worthy of love. Now, I know that's a tall order for a 9-year-old, but we really can model this type of mindset for our children, and we can work to develop it for ourselves. Being mindful when this is what is going on for us or for other people in our lives can help us see that what we or others often need is compassion. We cannot change and develop what we cannot or refuse to see about ourselves. Self-compassion opens up a window for us to see ourselves honestly without spiraling into shame, which leads to the behaviors of making excuses and justifying a lack of effort. For perfectionists, self-compassion gives us the power to be a limited human. We get tired, we get injured, we get sick. Sometimes we're hurt emotionally, we have bad days, and we have limitations that take us time and patience to overcome. We have to develop awareness to know when the healthiest thing for us is really to take a rest, to take a break, not to push so hard. We have to accept failure as part of the journey and progression, accepting that things take time, accepting that imperfection is inherent to the human condition, and giving ourselves grace. Those things are essential practices to developing a healthy mental state. In finding the balance between self-compassion and accountability, there are a few other factors it is important to have consciousness around. First, to accomplish any goal or to develop some capacity, there's always a cost. Sometimes we want the validation of being excellent at something, but lack the passion to achieve a desired outcome. Or maybe the cost really is just too high, and that is okay. We have to be honest with ourselves and not have any shame when we enjoy something and it blesses our lives. But when it comes down to it, we are unwilling to pay the price to achieve our goal. Maybe the goal needs to be shifted. Maybe the goal isn't what is healthy for us or may interfere with other higher priorities. My older daughter is starting her master's degree in a few months in piano performance. And when she was 10, she started expressing a desire to maybe go to Juilliard and become a concert pianist. And her teacher said, that's definitely possible for you, and told her what it would require. That it would require her to practice piano at least 4 hours a day, and that missing a day of practicing would have to be a very rare occasion. Practicing piano would have to be her first priority. Well, she also really enjoyed dance, and she wouldn't be able to keep up dancing at the level that she currently was. And even if she did all of those things and made those sacrifices, there is a possibility she may not reach her goal, her desired outcome. Well, she thought about it for about a month and decided, I really love piano, but maybe the cost of achieving that goal is too high. So we talked about what felt honoring for her. She decided, I'm going to practice like 2 hours a day. That feels a good commitment. And maybe sometimes 4 if I'm getting ready for a special audition. And in those 2 hours that I'm practicing, I'm really going to put forth my full effort and my focus. And she made practicing a priority, but she had some flexibility there. It wasn't so rigid, for things like family vacations and other important events. And she's had so many wonderful opportunities with the piano, and some that she wasn't qualified for. But because she made that decision consciously, there are no regrets. Her piano teacher, on the other hand, she has her bachelor's and her master's degree from Juilliard and a PhD from Johns Hopkins, and she's traveled the world performing. She's a world-renowned master teacher, and she practiced 4 hours a day from the time she was 8 years old, and almost never missing a day. She didn't go to birthday parties and other fan activities as a child if it interfered with her practice schedule. And she made it very clear that this was her decision and not her parents pushing. She had that level of passion for the instrument, and she's done so much good in the world because of her level of expertise. Now, my daughter has not had any resentment or jealousy toward other pianists who've reached a higher level of skill or achieved more. When we're honest about our level of passion and what costs we're willing to pay, we can let others shine and it doesn't affect us. The other thing we have to accept about the human condition is everyone is given genetically different strengths and limitations. We all have different inherent levels of intellect, athleticism, personality types that make different activities harder or easier. It can feel like an inherent unfairness. I had a little dance student process with me recently, and she just had the recognition and said, dance comes easier to some students at the studio who don't love it and aren't as committed as me. And that does seem unfair. Bringing compassion to our inherent limitations that we didn't choose are an important part of growth. I told this little student, you're right, that feels unfair, but it is about who we become and how we grow as people that matters as we strive in a healthy way for excellence. And if you have a passion for dance and are willing to work, you will find your place and your purpose in the art form. If dance brings you joy, that is always enough. I had another student who was extremely passionate about dance and had the drive and desire to do it professionally, who developed a debilitating chronic illness that severely affected her energy and her stamina. For a time, it was just too painful to participate in dance when she felt like what she had hoped for and dreamed about was no longer possible. After 6 months, she missed it terribly, and I have watched her trying to re-engage with dance with lots of grace, that her capacity and her best effort are not at the level that it used to be. And she's learning to dance from a deep place in her soul while honoring and accepting the limitations that she did not choose. And it's really beautiful to observe. I've also learned throughout my life that the place we most need this practice is when we're addressing our internal world, creating inner alignment, being humble and accountable to develop true self-awareness. That is the most important work we engage in as humans, and it is often undervalued. It's the false narratives, the limiting beliefs, the faulty paradigms are affecting the way we see ourselves and the world. It will manifest in our work, in our relationships, and our effectiveness and our ability to experience peace and joy will be hindered. Our internal world is the place that we need the most compassion.
Thanks for practicing with us. If you found this content helpful, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more information and support to help you build a life of passion and purpose that you love.